Hi, friends. You are listening to the EntreEd Talk podcast, where we feature amazing educators and entrepreneurs showcasing how you can bring entrepreneurship into the classroom. We believe entrepreneurship is for everyone. I am your host, Toy Hirschman, and I am so glad you chose to join me on this journey. Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another great episode of the EntreEd Talk podcast. I am so excited today to have another one of our pitch competition winners with us. I have with me today Emilee Metcalf from Patchworks, and she's also joining us with her teacher, Christa Frost. Welcome, welcome, welcome to both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited. We love interviewing awesome students, and it's my most favorite thing. And I know our audience is going to love this. So Emilee, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about, where you're from, school, and a little bit about your company, Patchworks.
So I'm Emilee Metcalf from Clinton, Tennessee, and I go to Clinton High School. And I'm very involved with business. I've taken probably about 7 business classes so far. And that's how I got into participating in the pitch competition, is through business. And my company, Patchworks, I kind of came about that. I was trying to come up with an idea by thinking of something that I really like to do. And I really like to be involved with like fashion, and I like to sew a little bit myself. And so that's how I came upon my company.
Awesome. So tell us about what does Patchworks do? What is your give us kind of the overview of your business model.
So Patchworks is it's basically a drop ship business where we provide a website for the customer to design a clothing item, and then they will be taken to a page where they can be matched with a tailor from their area, so they can enter their zip code and they will find a tailor that is in their area. And so once they pick a tailor that they want to support, they can order the clothing item that they designed from them, and it will be shipped right to them. It's a very easy process.
That's cool. So what is the benefit? What's the difference between doing something like that versus going to like a boutique kind of retail store? What's the benefit to the customer?
So one big main difference is you can pretty much design any item that you want from scratch. So you can be really artistic with it and creative with it, and it'll be very unique to you. You may not be wearing the same thing that everyone else is wearing. And it's also made much better because it's hand sewn, and it would be so much, better quality. And mostly the customization, that's a big thing with it, that's a big benefit of the company.
That's really neat. So how would I, if I was on your platform and found a tailor, how do I put the outfit together? Because I don't know how to sew. So what do I do?
So what you would do is it would be, I don't know if you've ever seen a clothing pattern that someone uses to sew things. Your website, the view for you as a customer, would kind of look very similar to that. And it would all be laid out for you, all the parts. You wouldn't have to come up with what you want to do. And we would also give you a guide for your measurements, so you would know what measurements to take. And a lot of step-by-step pages where you can really learn how to design it properly. But most of it would be very, all you have to do is pick your color, pick your pattern and stuff like that. And it would be the website would walk you through it.
That's really cool. That's intriguing, because I could have something that nobody else has. That's really neat. And what is, who are you targeting with your company, with your business?
So mainly people that want to have nice, well-made, unique custom clothing. And also I wanted to target tailors specifically that want to have a full-time job sewing things, because it's easy to make things and put it on Etsy or something like that, but you can't really do that for a full-time career. So if we did have, a lot of customers through Patchworks, it would give those tailors an opportunity to have full-time business making clothing.
That's really cool. So you also have this kind of social impact involved in your business too. That's really neat. And, I gotta admit, I've never been to a tailor in my entire life. That would be, if I wanted, I wouldn't even know what to do. So that's a really, really unique idea. Oh, I love it. So can you tell us a little bit about what got you excited about participating in the pitch competition, and how did that all happen for you?
So I did want to look into more things to do to put, on my college resume because I'll be going to college next year. And I felt like that would be a great opportunity to say that I participated in. And I also I'm the kind of person, like I have like a notes folder in my phone where I'm just like coming up with business ideas and stuff. So it was like a nice opportunity to like bring one of those out and like go into detail about starting a business. It was just like a really nice simulation to figuring out what you would do if you really wanted to do that, because you have to think of so many things that you would actually have to think about if you wanted to start this business. And so that's why it was intriguing.
Awesome. So are you planning to major in business in college?
Yes, I want to major in business management. I'm trying to figure out a few more details about that, but I know that much about it.
Awesome. Well, you know what? You don't have to know yet. I still don't know. And I've been going to college for a long time. That is so cool. So what do you think you're going to do with the business? Are you going to carry Patchworks forward? What do you think?
I've been thinking about it, and because of the competition, it has made me start thinking about starting my own business one day instead of just doing marketing or something like that. I really like the idea of starting my own business, and it's because of the competition that I even thought about doing it.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad to hear that, because that's kind of what we were hoping to have happen with the competition, to kind of just spark that excitement in students. The coolest thing to me about entrepreneurship is that you can do it anytime you want. So, you can go and work, you can go out and work for somebody for 10 years, get lots of great experience, and then go into branch out into entrepreneurship after that. So it's something that's always kind of warms my heart. I thought, like, you have this now, you have this whole other career option that's always going to be there forever and ever and ever, whenever you want to access it. When you're 80, you could decide you want to be an entrepreneur, or when you're 21, or anywhere along the line. So I never had that experience in school. So I'm glad that we're able to do that. I didn't even know how to spell entrepreneur until about 5 years ago. So it's, I'm just so glad that we can do that. So, awesome. So what would you say was your biggest challenge with the business and going through the competition process?
The way that I come up with my businesses is kind of backwards. So I come up with like the idea for a business, and then it's almost like I have to go back and like find my customer and find my problem. And so it was a little bit of a challenge to start with, to really nail my target market and find out what I would like. When we done the business canvas and stuff, it was kind of difficult to like really get into detail the customer and the true problem that I was solving, because I have such a backwards process of coming up with stuff.
Well, that is interesting that you say that, because but going through the process is something that a lot of people tend to skip. They just say, okay, I like apples and I'm going to start a business around apples. But going through that process and really finding out, do you actually legitimately have a target audience? And a lot of times, if you don't go through that process, you might realize later, too late sometimes, that maybe you should have tweaked things a little bit to really find that target audience and have a customer base. Because if you're doing something for other people and nobody wants what you're doing, then you don't have a business, right? So that's cool. Yeah, that is tricky, because you have a passion, and to mesh that passion with an actual market is one of the most difficult steps. So that is really cool. So how about, what was your favorite thing about this whole process?
My favorite part was getting to make, I made like a little mock-up website to present during the live pitch. And that was really fun to like, it was, I got to make a lot of like the clip art and stuff in it. I drew it by hand because I wanted to avoid copyright and everything. And so that was a really fun thing, to get to make a website and to really see like how it would be if you got to do that in real life.
Cool. What did you make the website on? What platform?
I did it on Google Sites. And so it was a little bit more tricky because it wasn't like a super, I don't know, it wasn't exactly like a real website. So I had to find ways to like maybe make a little button that would look like, what would be on a real website.
Oh, that's really creative. I've never tried to use that before. So that's, that would be challenging. So So Christa, why don't you share a little bit about your experience with this process and how what do you teach, and then how did you get involved with the competition?
Okay. Well, I'm a business teacher here at Clinton High School, and in fall of 2020, I guess, in fall of 2020, I was approached about starting the EntreEd program here, and I just wasn't sure, with everything going on with some students being in the classrooms, some students being virtual, and everything that was going on with it, it was even going to work out. And Emilee was actually an online student too, but I kept kind of getting emails about the opportunity, and it was something I was interested in, and then I decided to go ahead and implement it in one of my classes and just make it something that everybody in the class was going to do. So they didn't have an option. And all of the teams actually did good and learned from it. Some of the teams didn't start out as strong, and so they didn't end up with a good presentation to be able to move forward. But Emilee was in that class, and she was working independently at home, and she had a great business idea on a nonprofit organization. And she and one of my other teams actually made it to round 2. And so the really interesting thing about this is Emilee came back this year. I didn't make it a class project. I opened it up to anybody in the school that wanted to come in and do this pitch. And Emilee was the only one that took advantage of the opportunity and blew it out of the water. She just is a phenomenal student and did so good in each step of the way. But when we did this the first year, I had 2 teams that made it into round 2, and one of the teams came in second place. So that was really good that we made it into the top 3. And then actually this week they are meeting with a local person who is doing their business idea. So they had a drive-in, that a local drive-in here in the area, and that was their business idea. And we have somebody who's doing that, who is connected to the school system, and they're meeting together now to kind of share ideas. So we had that success. And then Emilee came back in this season to do our second pitch contest here at the school and came in first place. So it's just really exciting for me to see our students take ideas and put a business plan together and then see successes from it. It's exciting for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's just, we always feel like that just having, like you'd said before, even students that weren't as strong with it, they just having that experience is so powerful because it shows them what this would actually be like and what you have to consider if you were going to start your own business. That's awesome about the drive-in. I love drive-ins. We don't have one around here. That is really cool. So, Emilee, what advice might you give to a student that's interested in going through this process and really fleshing out a business idea?
I would definitely say, put a lot of time into it because, not like every single minute, but anytime that you have, to think of like extra details more than just what they tell you to do will make you so much stronger in especially your live pitch, because you'll know more about your company. Just like really immerse yourself in your company and make sure that, you know all the ins and outs, even if it's not a question from the competition that's on the business canvas or that they ask you at the pitch. Just make sure that you're prepared for everything that they could ask, and just make sure you really know your company.
That's awesome. That's great advice. It's great advice. Do you think, do you feel like this was, and you don't have to say anything mean about other classes that you have, but did you find this experience more motivating as, compared to other subjects that aren't as personally meaningful?
Yes, I definitely think that any business class I've taken in this whole experience, I feel like it does mean a little bit more to me because I know that it's related to the career that I want to go into. And it just feels really useful, and like I'm really getting a lot of information and tips and things that will help me in real life. And that's something that I value a lot, is like, what can I do now that will help me later? And I feel like this competition and all the business classes I've taken have really helped me to be prepared.
Awesome. Wow. What a good testimony. Yay. So that is wonderful. We see that so much when students are able to take something that they're passionate about and work on it, that it really just ups the game in a classroom, because you don't have that question, why am I learning this? You know why. It's important and it's relevant. So that's wonderful. I'm excited to see what you do in the future. This is really, really cool. 7 business classes, that's a lot. That's more than like a pathway, right? Or is that,
Yes.
you're really into that? That's awesome. So how about you, Christa? What advice might you give an educator who is maybe listening to this and like, I want to do one of those competitions, but doesn't really know how to get started? What advice might you give them?
Well, there's plenty of information online, resources that are available through EntreEd to guide you. And so I would just look over those and kind of envision what the students are going to be doing through the process and reach out. There's lots of ways to get support, and there are people there to help you. But just to go for it, you can't fail. Anything that you do with this is going to be giving your students an opportunity, and it's really their job to take the information that you're giving and run with it, and to do their research and to pull things together. And I see the teacher as more of a coach. So don't be worried about the time or the end product, but to guide your students through and give them the opportunity and to help them get excited about it. So I've enjoyed this. Emilee is an outstanding student, and she is so creative. There are so many different directions she could go in life, and I know that she's going to be successful. And she was one of those students where you didn't have to follow behind and remind of due dates and things like that. And she would look at her canvases and the rating sheets that the judges were going to use and make sure that she was prepared to give the judges what they were looking for. So I think for a teacher standpoint, to open it up and see what your students will do and just to provide that support for them. But the opportunity is amazing. The class that I made everybody participate in, a lot of them didn't really buy into it at the beginning, but at the end they saw the value and the experience, and they all learned something. And in reflecting, they were coming up with ideas that they could have used to make their business plans better and everything. So I think for a teacher, just to give your students that opportunity is valuable for everybody.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's a lot of times when we work with teachers, that's sometimes the biggest hurdle is getting over that initial, I mean, you're already a business teacher, so you probably didn't have that issue, but just getting over that initial, like, I don't understand, every kid can go in a different direction and I don't know how to, that kind of that fear of not knowing what's going to happen. But that's when the learning really is so cool. And, when students are all doing different things, and you said the perfect thing is that you have to be more of a coach and a facilitator than, you're not standing up there giving information. They have to do the work. So I think that that's really impactful. So this is awesome. I'm so excited that you were able to join me today, Emilee and Christa. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time today. I know that scheduling is so difficult with around a school schedule and everything. So I really appreciate that. But I know our audience is going to love hearing this episode. And I'm just so happy that you guys are able to join me.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.